Hello everyone and welcome to Geek Anime channel. I'm your detective host Igor, and today we're going to deep dive into Severance, and I really hope you brought your tinfoil hats with you today, because we are going deep, very deep into the rabbit hole.
Take the red pill, stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
You probably, like many viewers of Severance, including yours truly, kinda noticed that there are some similarities between Severance TV show and the original Matrix from 1999. I mean, let's talk about the separation between the red and the blue. Both in Matrix and in Severance, red symbolizes the real world. In Matrix you take the red pill and you wake up somewhere close to Zone City. I mean, this is future and it's pretty fucked up future. In Severance, if you are wearing red, usually it's because you are in your outie self and you are in the real world. This is the real persona, not the fake one.
I am a person, you are not.
But if you choose the blue pill, you're gonna stay in the Matrix, you're gonna keep being the working cog, and the same way in Severance. Whenever you wear in blue, navy blue, whatever it is, wherever you are in halls that are filled with blue color, most likely you are your innie self, or the fake person, as somebody would call them, even though I don't support this notion.
I am a person, you are not.
See, now that's some bullshit.
No, of course this is not all. Obviously there are small hints and mostly nods toward the classic Matrix, which by itself took a lot of inspiration from Alice in Wonderland, and this is why you have the white rabbit that takes Neo to his path of hero, and here in Severance we also have Mrs. Selvig, that by coincidence actually drives a Volkswagen that it's been nicknamed as a white rabbit. So as I told you, this is not like a clear connection, this is just nods. This is something that is considered a good manners in Hollywood. If you're taking inspiration from some creation that was made before you usually put some of those, really nice, subtle nods towards the original concept, towards the original idea. It's like saying thank you, it's like saying, hey, I have a nice idea, I have a great idea, but without you, this idea probably wouldn't happen. So, thanks to you, the original concept, the original idea creator.
I just wanted to say thanks.
So it would all probably stay in this area of small interesting connection with previous creations, with previous ideas, if it's not for episode 4, that in my opinion for the first time showed us that a simulation, a very realistic simulation of a real world can actually happen in Severance. And this is what we're gonna discuss today. But before we begin, as usual, I wanna thank everyone who supports me on Patreon and on YouTube. Your financial support, your donation is what makes this channel possible. This is not just words, this is the real case. Without your trust in me, I would probably already lose a lot of motivation, and I probably wouldn't believe in myself in that matter that will allow me to quit everything and do just YouTube. So thank you so much, and I actually want to welcome two new motivators, Lynn Stafford and Caris Schuler. Thank you so much for helping me and for joining this small and amazing community. Now, as usual, I prepared a lot of interesting information and a lot of facts for you, so
these facts should be very pleasing. Try to enjoy each equally.
Now, as I promised you, I'm gonna take you deep into the rabbit hole, and I have some idea and some connection that kind of made me, think my mind was blown a little bit. Now, if I'm actually in the right direction, can be huge. So first of all, we're gonna discuss the whole episode 4, all of the indicators, all of the clues, and then I'm gonna drop some ideas and some theories for your consideration. You will decide whether they have merit or not. So let's start with episode 4. Now the first clue, as I thought, I have to mention it because some people will ask me about it, is the sound of the elevator as soon as Irving wakes up in the middle of the snowy, icy lake. Now, most of us were kind of thinking, since he is hearing this elevator sound, it probably means that he is inside of this elevator. Maybe this is still a possibility, but if we are comparing this moment to when our innies were woken up in the end of season 1, they were also hearing the elevator sound. And also when Dylan was awakened in episode 6 in season 1, we can also hear this sound. If I'm gonna crank up the volume a bit, you're probably gonna hear it too.
End it.
So it actually doesn't prove anything and it doesn't disprove anything. This is just something that happened, that's all. But the first thing that happens after that is one of the most conclusive clues that this is actually a simulation. This is not a real place. Maybe it is a real place, but for our innies, they are inside of a computer program or they are inside of somebody's brain. I wonder whose. Now, if you're gonna look at a cliff in this moment that stands right next to Mark, you will clearly see that there is no television set there. Absolutely none. This is not a cinematography mistake, this is not an editing mistake, this is not a different angle with the camera, no. This is done in purpose. You don't see any TV there, and in the next scene, as soon as they are going there, suddenly there is a TV and there is this music that comes with the Kier hymn from the TV. Now, in what place things can just appear and disappear willy-nilly? Is it a magical place? Is it a fantasy world? Was it written by Brandon Sanderson? Are there dragons there? Are they light bringers? No, obviously this is not a fantasy, there is no magic, so this is a sci-fi TV show, and this is a high-tech company. Lumen Industries is a high-tech company. Now, a high-tech company that works with the brain could probably manage a solution to create some kind of a simulation, whether it's a contained one or maybe even a bigger one. Even right now, as we speak in 2025, there are computer games that simulate a big, huge even world that looks and feels almost entirely real. So it's not a very far-fetched situation that in a sci-fi TV show with a company like Lumen with its own tools and unlimited capabilities, they will be able to create something like a simulation that will feel and be real.
I know this steak doesn't exist. I know that when I put it in my mouth, the Matrix is telling my brain that it is juicy and delicious. Ignorance is bliss.
Now, this moment I want to get back to the Matrix and let's remember the rules of Matrix. Now, if there is a similarity, if it was really a source of inspiration for at least some parts of Severance TV show, we should consider what are the rules of Matrix. When you are connected to Matrix, you feel like this is a real life. You can be hungry, you can be sleepy, you can feel sexual arousal, you can actually feel joy, happiness, you feel food, taste, everything. This is a complete 100% simulation of real life. You're not gonna be able to distinguish between this and the actual real world. Now, what happens with you if you are hurt or something even worse happens to you in the Matrix? If you are hurt, your body, the one that's asleep in the real world, is also gonna react to this pain. Maybe not in the same exact way, but we remember in the first movie when Agent Smith was kicking the shit out of Neo, even his outie self was bleeding from his mouth. This is even before he was killed. And obviously, if you die in Matrix, you die in the real world too.
Body cannot live without the mind.
So if we can assume that this whole snowy place is actually some kind of a simulation, let's also assume that it works with the same set of rules that was presented to us in the original Matrix made by the Wachowski brothers or sisters. I don't remember who they were at this period. Now at this point you can probably say, Igor, what the hell are you talking about? This is a TV show, mistakes can happen, they probably just didn't edit it. They just forgot to put the TV there or something like this. But if you think about this a little bit more, you remember that Mark was standing on this cliff for a while, okay? He knew already that there is a path there that Irving can use to come to see him, so he was there for at least a couple of minutes before Irving woke up. So he had a time to take a look, and especially when Irving with Haley were coming for him, this is like not a 5-minute climb there. This is like at least 15, 20, maybe even more. If you know, like if you were hiking, this is not something you do in a couple of minutes. It will take you some time to get to this high cliff there. So there is more than enough time for Mark to observe his surroundings and notice that there is a fucking TV there standing in the top of the cliff. He didn't notice this, it means there was no TV and it appeared just from thin air.
Magic.
But obviously this is not all I have for the TV sequence. If you are familiar with video games, with video simulations, it doesn't really matter how big your world is, it will still have some kind of a borders. And if your character in the video game will come close to those borders, he will probably see something that he's not supposed to see. Like maybe some pixels, maybe some squares, maybe he'll just see some kind of a message like turn around, this is the limit of the game, there's nothing for you there. Sometimes in, more future, more modern games, your character will just turn around by himself and come back to where you can actually play. Now this is something that I kind of remembered as soon as Mr. Milchik was talking about do not stray from Kier's path or some bad shit will happen to you. I paraphrased it, obviously.
And do remember, stray not from Kier's path, lest you roil nature's wrath.
Why is it so important for Milchik to scare them to stay on the path? Because if they're gonna wander around, what's gonna happen? Are they afraid to lose their innies, their workforce? I don't think so, because we kind of can assume already that they have some kind of a GPS device inside of our innies. They have to have this ability to locate them whenever they want. Otherwise, the whole ODC protocol is pretty much useless. If you can switch innies when they're outside, but you have no clue where are your innies, you don't have any tool of control knowing where they are right now in the moment when they're gonna be switched in, it means that OTC is completely useless and you're probably never gonna use it. So they're not afraid to lose them, they're not afraid that something's gonna happen to them. But if they're gonna stray from the path, maybe they're gonna see something that they're not supposed to see. Like, whenever there is a simulation of a world, as I told you, there are some borders. There are some places that you're not supposed to see because they will take you out from this experience. Now, I know that for some of us this is a stretch, and if this was the only case for it being a simulation, I wouldn't even mention it. But this is just one small brick in a very big wall. So let's continue. Since we already started to talk about some video games experience, the whole quest of following Kier's path kind of feels like a video game, like a quest video game or an RPG, when you have a map and you have a destination and you get a quest from one of the NPCs, and Milchik on this TV look a lot like an NPC character. But this is, already me picking up some stuff. But anyway, it kind of feels like a video game. But let's focus on the task that Milchik is given to our innies. You're supposed to go to this cave and find this 4 appendix, or to this grotto. And he's basically saying that this is the same place where Kier tamed his tempers for the first time ever.
The very same grotto where Kier tamed the 4 tempers for the very first time.
Now let's rewind a little bit and remember once again episode 3 of season 1, when we hear one of the last words by Kier. He was talking how he tamed those 4 tempers, and let's hear his words.
I walked into the cave of my own mind, and there I tamed them.
Now, if this is not a clue, I honestly don't know what is. We have 2 direct quotes from 2 different characters. We have Kier saying that he tamed the tempers in his fucking mind. This was in his head. This is not something that he did physically. He didn't go to the cave and fight the Minotaur or some shit like this. This is something that he did inside of himself. This is, the self-help. If Kier was alive today, he would be one of those guys that basically tell you that they're gonna teach you how to live or something like this.
I'm gonna teach you how to live.
And then, basically, Milchik's saying to us, go to the same cave where Kier tamed his tempers. So what is he saying? That they are inside of Kier mind. How is this even possible? I mean, is there like a big brain somewhere in Lumen with a lot of, different cords and different maybe cables connected to it, and this basically creates some kind of a matrix situation? Sounds a little bit too much, honestly. The first time I was starting to think about it, I was like, no freaking way. This is way too much, this is way out there. But, let's continue with our clues. Since we started to talk about the TV and the things appearing and disappearing willy-nilly, let's also consider, the robots that are appearing from somewhere and showing the way to our heroes. And if you can basically make some kind of a case for the Mark robot, the first one they see, now it will take them time to go from one cliff to another. At this time, this robot can actually, like a Pink Panther, to them, hide away in the bushes or some shit like this. But as soon as they see the Heli-R robot, this is a direct line from them to her. You just go down there, you can jump, it's not that hard, and you go straight away to the cave. Now, where did she go at that time? When they were walking towards her, did they even notice that she kind of disappeared, or she just turned around and walk to her, to her next destination. Now, once again, it's very surreal, and the reason why it's surreal, and also Ben Stiller himself said that he wanted this episode to feel as surreal as possible, I think it's because everything that happens in this place is some kind of a weird simulation. Maybe it's a computer program, or maybe they're actually inside of someone's brain.
I walked into the cave of my own mind, and there I tamed them.
The very same grotto where Kier Egan tamed the four tempers for the very first time.
Our heroes never breathe steam, and it's super cold outside. You can see like there is a very thick ice on the river, there is a lot of snow. This is obviously not a beach weather. Nobody's gonna wear some swimsuits right now and go diving there. So this is a very cold place. Now, I don't know about you, but I have this weird human condition. Now, as soon as I'm in a cold place, if I'm gonna breathe out, people gonna see some steam coming out of my mouth. Rewatch the episode 4 and you will notice none of them have steam in their mouth. How is that even possible? I mean, they filmed this in the real location. This is not a green screen studio. Okay, so it's not like they forgot to add some of the steam in the post-production process. So it kind of makes me think, did they do this deliberately? Did they remove the steam from their mouths like in the post-editing process? The one I was talking about just a couple of seconds ago? I know, once again, it's so much out there, it's a big stretch, but when you combine all of those small bricks together, it kind of starts to look like a very big fucking wall. So since we started with some of inconsistencies, let's talk a little bit about this one. When they arrive to this big camp, for Illumin outdoor activities, we have just 4 tents. So we have tents for our innies. Where Milchek and Miss Hong are gonna sleep, we really don't know. Maybe there's some kind of a camp from, close somewhere to this place. It has to be close, because on the next day, as soon as they call for Mr. Milchek, he kinda appears from out of nowhere. He just running already on the top of the hill and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm already here. What's up? What is going on? Where is Heli R? Or should I say Helena?" But this is not all. Let's look at this place from the top. We can see that there's the camp. Behind the camp there are very deep trees, not a good place to walk into, and there's like this road here that's going north, and there is some kind of a road that looks like it goes right. So when Milchik and Miss Huang living in the night, they're actually living somewhere to the left. Not even to the right, they're living somewhere to the left, and we know that there's absolutely nothing on the left, there's a lot of trees. When Irving leaving everybody, he's also going to, to the south, to the back of the camera. So he is going also to the trees, to the wild, which is also kinda weird. And the next morning, as I told you, as soon as Mark comes out of his tent and he's looking for Heli, and then they scream for Mr. Milchik, suddenly he appears once again out of nowhere, already close to them, and he's actually coming back from this right path. So it is kind of weird. You can see all of the inconsistencies. It's kind of out there, like everybody goes everywhere and suddenly they appear in the same place, which is weird if it's not some kind of a freaky simulation. But once again, we have this case of people disappearing and reappearing out of nowhere as soon as they are needed. But once again, this is not all. As usual, Mr. Milchik is carrying his radio device, the same one he used when he switched Dylan on in season 1 episode 6, when he wanted to check where he hid this card that he took from O&D. And obviously some radios are pretty strong. I'm not an expert. If somebody can fix me on that, I will appreciate that. But what I read is basically if you have a very strong, powerful radio, most likely it will reach somewhere until 50, maybe even 100 kilometers. But this is usually gonna happen if you are in a very clean place, there are no trees, there are no mountains, and you have like a very direct line between the two radio stations, and if you have maybe a radio tower there. But we can see that Milchik is actually being able to reach to a very distant place, because we have seen once again this whole snowy location from the top, and it looks like there is nothing that resembles civilization miles and miles and miles away. So once again, maybe it's a case of the same radio device that was used by the heroes in Matrix. When there is somebody who is operating the magical ship in the real world. They can actually talk through the phones that inside the Matrix with the heroes that go to become their Matrix innies, if you will. Obviously, we still don't know who is Milchik talking to. There is a theory that this is actually Gretchen, which I think can be very much real, but this is not important right now. Once again, as soon as he says switch it on, it means that somebody is there ready to switch it on, and they are ready in the operating booth, in the same control room that was used by Dylan in the end of season 1. Now, I don't know about you, but it kind of gives me the whole vibe and the feeling that he's talking to somebody who is kind of close to him. You know, if you are connected to somebody's mind, if you are connected to somebody's consciousness or to some kind of a computer simulation, the operator can be right next to you, and no matter where you are in this simulation, you will easily reach the operator and he will switch on the Glasgow, the OTC, the Beehive, whatever you want. And if we are taking into consideration that the Matrix rules work here, this is why they were hungry, this is why Irving was very hungry when he first met Milchik here, this is why Haley R, or Helena should I say, was really afraid to die, because if your mind dies, your body dies also. So yeah, in my mind, and in my humble opinion, this is almost definitely some kind of a simulation. And I think since we're talking everything here in Severance is about mind and mind control, I honestly think they are not inside of a computer program, they are actually inside of somebody's brain. Or you know what, I can meet you halfway. They are inside of a computer program, but this computer program simulates completely somebody's brain. It contains this somebody's memories, this somebody's knowledge, and absolutely everything that is supposed to be in this somebody's mind. Now, as soon as I'm saying somebody, I can already feel that you know exactly where I'm going with this. Mr. Milchik said that they're supposed to go to the cave where Kier Egan tamed his tempers for the first time, and we know that this cave is actually inside of his mind. So is it possible that in Lumen Industries there's some kind of a big brain connected to the cables, just like we were talking about, and this brain actually belongs to Kier Egan, and they want to recreate this person and to make their messiah to come back to life? Or maybe they're doing it through some kind of an AI simulation, where Kier Egan's brain is actually a computer program, that it's filled with his knowledge and with his memories, and this is the way they want to resurrect him. This is more scientific, if you will.
Yes, science, bitch!
Now, as soon as you start to think about this and you start to accept that maybe some parts of the story that we see in Severance are actually a computer simulation or a brain simulation, you kind of start to wonder what else can be some sort of a simulation matrix kind of theme. Maybe everything? I mean, it's completely out there, and I actually don't really like the idea because I want the story to be as real as possible, and since, you know, Matrix was already down more than 20 years ago, I think it's a bit irrelevant to repeat this story. But then again, since they are inside of Kier's mind, and can it be possible that maybe also all of the Lumen Industries, with all of its ideas and philosophy, is also inside of his mind? And then it kind of hit me. What is the name of the town where everything takes place? It's called Kier Town. They are literally inside Kier. I don't know if it's a coincidence, I don't know if it's a hint of some sort, but as soon as I thought about it, my mind was like, what the hell is going on? Are they actually inside of Kier? Is it all? Everything we have seen so far is some kind of a part of his brain where all those people live, and this is why they try to recreate his brain somehow through this MDR and everything else process. I know it's completely out there. I know it's a tinfoil hat. I know there's a lot of things that probably gonna tell you, no way. But then think about it. How in the world, in the real world, someone like Riken can become a best-selling author? I mean, come on, there's enough of stupid people out there, but not enough of them to buy books. So something is wrong here, and they're hinting it to us many times. Like as soon as Miss Selvig left Kier Town for miles and miles and miles, there's absolutely nothing there. There's just some kind of wasteland and maybe some kind of a shack and maybe some, I don't know, maybe cars. If you look at the world it is different. There are more countries than are supposed to be. Maybe this world is actually have, you know, like a Kier waterfall is the tallest waterfall there is. Maybe those people don't really know what the hell is toilet paper and they actually call it the washroom tissue because they are all inside of simulation. This will explain also why Mr. Milchik is kind of crazy, why Miss Selvig is kind of crazy, because they all pretty much somehow connected to Kier's brain. Look, this whole video is basically me brainstorming, taking some clues and trying to feed them to the theory. Okay, I'm not married to this theory and I really hope we're not gonna have children together. So if somebody is gonna find something that will indecisively make me believe that this theory is a complete bullshit, I'm easily going to accept it. I'm actually gonna be happy about it because I'm not really excited about all of them being inside of some kind of a matrix. And it all happens while actually our heroes are somewhere, you know, laying on a chair and they're connected to some program. I think this twist is not going to be unexpected, it's going to be disappointing because once again it's just going to remind us about metrics and it's going to make this show way less original than it is. But simultaneously, when I notice things that take me to some kind of a direction, I'm sharing them with you, okay? And if you have some observation, please write in the comments. I would love to hear what you think. Do you think that everything we have seen so far is actually part of some sort of a simulation? Everything that happens in Lumen, everything that happens outside? Or maybe you think that something that happens in Lumens are actually true and when they go outside this is actually a simulation? Or once again, you think only the snowy place was the simulation type of Matrix kind of situation? Or you think I'm completely out there and I'm way wrong and there is no simulation at all and everything was 100% real? I still can't get over that, you know, the Audis basically just agreed to go to this snowy cold place where people not gonna survive for 48 hours, like, and they completely agreed to it without any problems. Everybody, Irving, Dylan and Mark, none of them had any issue with them being switched off for 2 days so their innies will have some fun time in a place where they probably gonna die. So anyway, finishing on that note, I'm waiting for your comments. Please feel free to check my full detailed review, 1 hour long, of the previous episode. We discuss absolutely everything. You're gonna find this video somewhere here and hopefully I'm gonna see you on the next one. Bye!